have today with me Lisa Hastings. She was actually my former creative director, which is pretty cool. Today we're going to be talking about creative bravery. So I hope you guys enjoy the content. We're just going to be talking about new things, how to take risks, what's happening in the design industry, talk a bit about design sustainability and all that cool stuff. So I'm glad to have Lisa on. So Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself? Talk a bit about yourself.
What an intro. Thanks heaps for that. It seems so long ago that we were actually in Sydney working together. But I'm completely privileged to be on and talking a little bit about pushing yourself in our industry, because I think that's exactly what you've done. And if I could give anyone as an example, I'd say Jeremy is someone who whatever you tell him, he's sticking with his own mind, doing what he believes in, and doing a really good job of doing it. So kind of like, what else can I say? But no, in the meantime, since we worked together, I've worked in China. I started in London. Then I came over here to Sydney, was here for 8 years, decided I missed the UK. I went to China for 6 months, then went to the UK for 2 years, which is where I've just been, and missed it way too much. It was great to work across all those global markets and things like that, working with America, working with Ireland and Europe, but it's so good to be back in Sydney.
So cool. I love how you traveled. Like, you would have gained so much experience. And I know for me personally, I love traveling too. Like, it just opens your mind, and you get inspiration from everywhere. So that's the benefit of it. Like, I like that.
And that's definitely based on our creative bravery. Even outside of a work capacity, just go and see different places, different cultures. Just immerse yourself in everything. We're all creative people, and everyone who's listening to this will be like a little curious rabbit anyway, who wants to know about everything. So no, don't lose it. Never lose it.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Like, we have to have that mindset, because we only get one life, so we've got to make it count, So we've got to go out 100%. There and just step out,
Yeah. And the key thing about that in stepping out is, and I've seen a lot of it in our industry as well, is that in stepping out, don't step on other people. That's the thing. Kind of make your own path, and you do see a lot in our industry, but really we're really good at working as a team. And that's one of the things as well. Don't go out to trample other people to get where you want to get. Actually kind of treat it as a bit of a calmer exercise, and kind of learn about other cultures and things like that, and accept that they're different, and it's okay to be different. And I definitely say that with creativity, kind of respect what it gives back to you, as well as kind of challenging and trying to take on the world, which is what we all want to do.
Yeah, 100%. It reminds me of like on your LinkedIn, it says, I love how in your profile it says something about ego.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And I think we've all had creative directors, and we've all had CEOs or big bosses, and lots of politics and things like that in our industry, that the ego is there. And I think it spurs you either one way or another. For me, it's always been about, you're confident in what we do, and then over time you get more confident, but you should never ever stop learning, and you should never think that someone else's idea is not valid. Like, disregard the title, like, you're on the same level, you're playing as a team. And I think just people there's a lot of people in our industry who don't want to get their hands dirty. They've reached a position they are, and they're staying there. And yeah, definitely, I just think, it's not about hierarchy. Or it shouldn't be.
Yeah, 100%. Because like, if you think about it, we all were a student at one time, and we all grew up and came from that level. So it's like, why not do the same and help someone else? Yeah, like, the time is different. So, technology, and we have easy courses online and things, and people can learn a lot quicker. So, we shouldn't feel the need to squish people, but like, lift others up and build each other up.
100%. That's what our industry should be about. It's about kind of learning from each other and giving each other the boost.
Yeah.
Again, same with work. Like, we're also competitive. So, if there's work going around, we want to win it. But we want to win it because we do the best job, not because we went out to go, we're going to beat them. It's about, just doing the very best you can, and with the people around you, and not trampling on others.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Like, totally agree. That's so cool. Well, I want to ask you then, like, and I can even say for myself, like, what's some risks you've taken in your career, and even like when you had to transition when you were younger from maybe studying, and like, what was one of the first risks you took, and like, are you seeing the fruits of it now?
Well, I would say one of the biggest things for me was, at the time I graduated college, and I just went to did regular GCSEs and college grades. I desperately wanted to go to university. I'm not from a rich background. I'm from a one-parent family. And for me to be able to go to uni, I couldn't do the uni life that everyone had to do. I had to live at home and travel to uni. And, I kind of like, my parents weren't rich and afforded the fees and stuff like that. So for me to go to uni meant getting into a bit of debt. It meant making sure that debt was worth it. And so, yeah, I completely burnt out at uni after I left after I left my 3 years at uni. And my mum will even tell you now, she'll go, you were stupid at uni, you worked so hard. And I did in the final year.
Yeah.
And after leaving uni, went away, had a week unconscious in a Greek hospital because I was just so exhausted.
Wow.
But I got the first I needed. And that was, for me, I gave it 110%. Like, I didn't want to do anything less. And everyone says, I don't think you need a degree necessarily in our industry. It's about a drive to want to learn. And you don't necessarily have to have a degree to do that. But for me, that degree gave me the space to learn at that time.
Wow.
But you know, it wasn't easy. It wasn't, you know, people around you that live at uni and have the uni life. I didn't do that, but I don't regret it for a second. It was a risk. I could have gone straight into a design studio, but I wanted to get the degree for my own benefit, not for the industry and the world.
Yeah.
And it does pay off, not because I've got a piece of paper that tells me I've got. Yeah, it's not that. It's the experience it taught me of actually going through uni, and then, you know, the contacts that you make and things like that. All of that was why it was worthwhile. So that was the early ones. Then, you know, full well, I've taken catalogues of them because I'm a sucker for going, that sounds like a good idea. Never done that before. Why not? And that's why I ended up in China and things like that. That were great experiences, but obviously at the time, were a little bit. Oh, look, getting on a plane from London after having a 4-year, one agency I was at for 4 years in London, always wanted to live and work abroad, visited Australia, decided, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the visa. And getting on a plane with no job, just from the other side of the world, and stay with my best friend at the time, actually, who was in prison, was also a pretty big risk. But, you know, luckily after a month, an agency called me and said, we need a freelancer. Can you come in? And that's how I ended up at Equator, and it all organically grew from there. But I never want to stop taking those risks. Coming back here this time was taking a risk. I had a guaranteed job offer in Europe, or I could come back here to something that was a little bit more insecure. But sometimes you learn to follow your gut. And it's not about saying that's one of the things that I've actually got on my list of things for today, is that it's not about not being scared. And it's not about not being fearful of things. Like, you're terrified, but fear is good and failing is good. Because you just, as long as you learn from it. If you're making the same things over and over again, I'd say that's a little bit of a...
100%. I agree with you. Like, I see failing as just learning, you know?
Yeah.
And I like, there's another acronym that people put to fail. It's false evidence appearing real. So, so yeah, like, it's just something that we think is there, but it's actually just a belief system in our minds.
Yeah.
And it's our limiting beliefs that actually limit us, because we think, oh, we're not going to make it, or we're not going to be able to fulfill this thing we want to do. But the key is to step out, and that's how doors open. And then, like, that's what you're saying. Like, if you didn't take all these risks, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't have
100%.
seen the world and like done all these stuff. So, like, it's so important 100%. That we step out and like take these risks. And I agree with you. Like, yeah, you may have those doubts or fears or wavering thoughts, but the key is courage, is staring in the face of it and just going into it and just doing it anyway. You have those feelings. So that's what courage is, and bravery. It's just like going into it. And then on the other side, you're going to see the fruits of it, and you're going to see it's going to be so worth it. And it's going to be so good.
Definitely. And I just think, like, I mean, naturally creative people, we crave change, even small amounts of change. And we go out there to chase it, in all honesty. We sort of chase courage and new things. But once we get the momentum, generally it's a spiraling thing, and we just want to keep going and we don't want to stop. I know that you particularly, like, I know when you started out and you came in, I'm like, Jeremy, you should really kind of get like a full-time position. I want to be a freelancer. You definitely want to be a freelancer. I'll always remember that. And do you know what? Hats off to you, because you stuck to it, and you're getting your own great clients, and you go, like, I'm all for people. Like, as much as I kind of like, and all of my experience and going back and leading a team in the UK, I actually like to be proved wrong sometimes. It's actually really nice when people kind of, you go, I never thought you'd get there. Or even someone turns around and said something to you that you never thought was possible, or they're into something that you never thought they'd be into. It's nice to be surprised. I like to be surprised. And I guess that's sometimes the fear. A little bit. I don't think you should ever stop that either. It's good to have an opinion, but don't be ashamed to go, I was so wrong about that.
100%. Like, we're not always right. So that's why we're always being perfected, always learning. It's like the potter. He has the pot. He's always like, you know, trying again, starting again, molding and changing and shifting. But it was a big risk for me. Like that was one of the risks. Like yeah, going freelancing, and the thing was when I came to Vibe, like I, as you said before, like having the drive to learn is so important because I was just hungry. I wanted to learn because like I have a goal, I have a vision. Like yeah, I want to do freelancing. So like okay, what can I learn from Lisa? What can I learn from here and this experience to actually use that knowledge and take it forward with me? So
Yeah.
I was very open minded in that respect. You know.
And I think hats off to you for that, because that's a really good trait as well, to kind of actually go, this isn't necessarily the place I want to be long term, but it serves me for a purpose now. And so I'm actually just going to make the most of it. Like things aren't always perfect. Life isn't always perfect, and you can always change it. It's right. About actually appreciating that it's there at a time to teach you a lesson, and you can still learn from it, even if it's not ultimately where you want to be.
Yeah.
And actually where you want to be changes along the way. Like if you'd have asked me the opportunity I recently had, if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, the opportunity I recently had on paper was just like, oh my goodness, you have to take this, it's crazy. But actually different things became important to me. And don't be afraid to go, what was important to me then and what I did want isn't the same now. That's okay. We change ourselves all the time.
That's right. Yeah, we're constantly like evolving and changing. Like even some of my goals have changed now because your perspective changes, you learn new things, you meet new people, you get like new mentors, and like it really shapes your, you know, your goals and like where you're heading, because the future is always constantly changing, especially with all these tech startups and products and all these things as well. Like it influences you in some way. So yeah, don't always have, I remember I think it was Chris Doe or someone that was saying like you think the path is like straight like this, but he's like, just let the path take you where it's going to take you, because you may have the goal, yes, but it's not going to be like in the way that you think. So it's going to like, you're going to have opportunities that's going to take you off the path, you know? And
don't you think that's kind of like creativity as well? Is that, and I'm going to draw a little scribble here now, because I saw a graphic recently and someone sort of said, and here's my little scribble. This is generally where you start off as a creative and you go, right, this is the goal I want to get. And you think it's going to go straight down here. And in the middle, it kind of goes, and eventually you do get there, or you might get somewhere else. But that's the creative process. I think even the creative process in general, in a more day-to-day capacity, is for me. Like I get a brief and you go, okay, I've got this sorted. And then you have that bit in the middle where you go, oh, I can't do it. I'm not very good. What are we going to do? How's it going to happen? And it doesn't happen. And right at the end, it kind of all comes together, because it always does, you know. But there's always that bit in the middle that you go, the journey's not quite as I planned, and I thought it was going to be different. But
yeah, exactly.
That's like the life journey, isn't it? It's kind of, things will come away to throw you curveballs, and that's all right.
It's good, because that's how we're going to learn, you know, and that's how we're going to practice being brave and taking courage and taking those steps. You know what I mean? So
yeah, we're here to live. Like we live and we're human. So, you know, like it's okay to be human. I think that's the exciting point about the creative industry at the minute, because there's a lot of people who, and agents is very much a good example of it, that they're like doing things the way they've always done it, or they're actually open to change and adapting. Like, because there's no one way to go, we're going to change and be like this. That's not the answer. You're going to constantly have to change.
Yeah.
And know that you won't always have the answers. And that's where I definitely think like some of the bigger agencies could learn from new talent, from opening their eyes to go, well, just because this is who we are and what we've done, always stay true to your beliefs. That's one thing that I do think, and you'll see on my LinkedIn that things like, and it probably took me the 2 years in the UK to actually be okay to say that, to go, my beliefs are authenticity, to find solutions and not problems, and about honesty and trust and transparency are really important to me in any studio that I work in. And I think you can change your approach and your methods, even though your core beliefs stay the same, and that will be the challenge for agencies and creatives going forward. But definitely work out your own beliefs, because that's important.
Yeah, it's important, because then you need something to have a foundation on, you know what I mean? Because that's going to help you make your decisions and where you're going to go. So having that foundation, having those beliefs and sticking with them is really going to help you, especially like being honest, you know, being excellent and transparent and all those things. Like it really helps, especially if you want to be a freelancer or you want to work in a studio, like, and dealing with people, because at the end of the day, when you deal with clients, it's all about people. It's not about business to business or whatever. It's actually people. So we need to learn how to communicate, you know, be polite and all those things, because having those values is really going to shape, you know, how you're going to work with people at the end of the day.
Definitely. And I think that's kind of one thing that you've been talking about, isn't it, a lot lately, about, it's important to connect with people.
Yeah.
And that's what you've actually enjoyed about the people I mean, look, this channel, is a great medium for actually people to connect.
Yeah, 100%. It's true. Because it's like you have these micro communities and like, yeah, there's an audience, but you have these micro communities within that audience that are communicating and talking. And like even opportunities, people like, it's crazy. Like people message me and email, like ask me like for advice or like to help them give, like they're asking for my feedback on their new branding project or logo. And it's like, wow, like I was just like them like 4 years ago when I was a student, and now it's like I'm helping them. But have that ability to ask questions and get feedback and learn off each other, because I'm always learning from them too. So it's like cool. It's this cool dynamic. Yeah,
it's awesome, isn't it? That's definitely one of the one things that I do love about being, and I'm different to you in that, like, I do actually love doing personal projects for people because I like to be the person to face the client. But now that, I guess, as well, once you reach a creative director level, you're naturally with people. You are the person to face the client.
Yeah.
And I actually love that. I love working with people in the studio, and that's the bit that I miss when I have worked independently. I actually miss that connection, and I love that you can learn from other people, but they kind of, people asking for your advice and actually getting someone to believe they are better or they can produce better than they already are is brilliant. Like there's nothing like it. To kind of see juniors go, I don't think I can do it, and you just figure out ways to work with them, and they're producing work that they never thought capable of.
Yeah, 100%.
People believing in themselves, like that's
just having that belief. Yeah, 100% having that belief.
Awesome.
Really works. And like even like back to the idea of having that, the collaboration in the studio. Like I recently went to one of my friend's studios, and he needed some design work, and then I'm like, oh, can I work from home, like do remote, because I have the capabilities to do that. But he's like, no, I like the human touch. I'm like, oh yeah, it's true. Like he likes having that collaboration. We can talk, we can chat, we can vibe off each other, and he likes that energy, that energy that I bring. So it's like when you're in that environment, it completely changes the way in your creative flow, and it really helps the process as well. So 100%, it's really good.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, creative people are also times like, there are times when we need our own space. And it's finding that balance. Like there's a real energy and a buzz, and I do think that good energy breeds a good energy. And if you're in a creative room and you're full of, like, it's not that everyone has to be happy all the time. Like we're all going to be, pissed off of each other sometimes when things don't go well, or you're not doing what I need you to do, or how are we going to figure this out? We all get frustrated, or sometimes we've had a bad day and we carry it to work. So there's all that as well. But it's about appreciating and working as a team, and actually appreciating if someone needs to just put their headphones in and just knock on with something. That's okay. Like so I think like that's generally why you reconnect with people along the way, and remember the ones that you want to work with. I mean, that's for me, that's the long-term goal, to kind of to work with people that you enjoy the process of working with.
It's awesome.
That would be the dream studio, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would everything just flowing together, and just
just humans as well. It is that kind of like, it's not perfect all the time. What we do is not perfect. Clients are demanding, and so are we as creative people. Like, let's not dispute the fact that we don't always, and that's one of the things that and we're just some of us are stubborn and all of these things, and we might
but we're like, no, we want it this way, not your way.
Perfectionist as well. That's not a bad way to be.
A lot of people, actually, it's interesting because a lot of people are like, they start off as perfectionists, but when you actually understand, like, it's not meant to be that way. You're actually meant to just be more free flowing. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about perfection, but just worrying about taking action. But, try and do good quality at the same time. Like, give your best, especially if it's a client project. Like, you want to give your best. Like, I heard someone say, it's like, if you're doing like a $1,000 project, treat it like it's a $5,000 project. And if you're doing a $5,000 project, do it like it's 10 grand, because that's what you're applying. You're going to get a return on investment on that. And not only that, but it shows your values, and it shows you care to the person, and and you're trying to help their business.
I've got a really good friend of mine who's also in our industry. You might have met actually when we were at Vibe, and he said to me recently, he said, I always used to get bosses say to me, like, oh, you're always worried about that, like getting, like, just worry about 95%. As long as you're 95% there, you're fine. And he said, yeah, but that extra 5%, that's what makes it perfect, or that's what makes a difference. And it is like, never go, as long as I've got 90%, that's cool. Like, always aim as much as you can, because that 5%, like you say, gets you your next job.
That's true. 100%.
And that's not about it being perfect. That's just about effort.
100%.
And that's the thing with the whole risk thing. It's like, it's not about getting it right. It's about having a go.
And
And that's the key thing for me. Like clients are actually really understanding. I was thinking like recently, we had a brief in the UK. It was for a cereal brand, and we presented some concepts, and they were like, "Oh, like it's really out there. Like it's really far. Like it's too brave."
Yeah.
And for the client, that was too brave. As creatives, we always want to give them brave.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. But rather than sit there, and I've seen creative directors do it where they go, "No, this is the answer. This is what you need."
Yeah.
You go, "All right, I see your point. Like, let's talk about it. Like, what do you feel is working, isn't working? And then let's go away and reconfigure it." We went back to the studio. We went, "Look, guys, I think we went a bit too far. This is what I'm thinking." And so, we figured out some different solutions. Go back to the client. The amount that actual account grew from that moment of us, rather than go, "Oh, well, if you don't like it, that's not right. We can just redo it again." We actually spoke to them and got their thoughts. They appreciated the fact that, that was their thoughts. They ended up going a bit braver than we actually thought they were going to go. But just generally that, like, have the open conversation. Like, it's okay to go, "Oh, we're sorry we didn't tick your box this time."
Yeah.
What is it? Why do you think it's not working? Let us work it out.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and I see like working with clients, it's like a collaboration. Like, you don't just see them as like they're distant. Like include them in the process, and like you're gonna have a lot more better result because they feel like, oh, like they're heard, because they want to be heard and understood. So
and you need to get their perspective on it as well. Like, I'm working with a client at the moment, and she's setting up a beauty business. So we've got a shared Pinterest board. Anything that she sees that she likes, she needs to feed it, so you can get into people's heads. Like, I'm a massive believer in sharing things. Like if someone sees something out and about and they're like, "Oh, this is what I like," that helps you as a client. Because otherwise you're just naming things that are generic in a brief. Things like, "I want it to look premium. I want it to look sustainable. I want it to be eco-friendly." And you're not actually saying to you, what is eco-friendly? What does that word mean? Because that's just a word. So I'm massively up for that kind of, and clients, at the end of the day, they're not, yes, they're paying us to do work for them, but like, they actually like to be part of the process. Like, most people actually would love to do what we do.
Yeah, it's true.
As much as sometimes we have days where, like, I'm so tired, or we've done so much and we've pushed ourselves, it's mentally quite tiring. There's been a lot of my should I not have, where I've burnt myself out a lot of times in the past. But at the end of the day, like, I actually like what we do. I love it. Like, and I love going to work 95% of the time. So I have so many friends who are in corporate who actually hate going to work and just are looking for 5 o'clock when they can go home. And so think of a client like that. A client coming in to see you and talking about a Pinterest board or about visual images is probably the highlight of their day.
Wow. That's full on. It's true, but
and so I just think, they love the fact that they can come and talk to the creative team and have a coffee and a nice, like, they love it. And that's great. Like, if you're making someone's day just by that, great, awesome.
That's right. We've got to include those conversations and those interactions. Like, just like, we don't always have to be like, it doesn't have to all be set in stone and have, we have to do it this way. Like, you can break out of the process a little bit and actually, just bring those people in, but I liked how you were saying, like, like, we have to, like, keep doing it, and like, you push through even though you burnt out and stuff. But it brings up the, about being persistent and resilience, like pushing through and actually staying. Like, even for me, when I took the risk to like go full-time freelancing and, start my YouTube channel, like, that was a big step for me, because I was like, whoa. But, some people thought, it's just going to be a hobby thing and I was going to stop, but I kept doing it, and I've been doing it for like 3 years now. And now I have like over 5,000 subs, and I'm getting clients, and people like are looking at my channel. And like, even Adobe like has referred people to my channel for tutorials, which is like crazy.
That's awesome.
But I know it's just, I'm so thankful, but like, it's just crazy how if you just
but you've made it. You've made it. Like, it's like, it's marginal gains as well, that I call it. Like, it's the persistence and that kind of resilience that kind of keep pushing on with it, and it will come good. And hats off to you. Like, that's not just luck. Like, everyone will go, "You're so lucky to have that." Like, you've worked really hard. I believe there's a certain element of being in the right place at the right time.
Serendipity. That's called serendipity.
But you put yourself in the situations. You're out there. Everyone would say, "You're so lucky for having this." Like, no, after a while, you just stop answering those questions, because they're just the people that go, "So lucky." Like, I magic to myself the other side of the world, or I magic to myself my own YouTube channel. Someone set it all up for me, and magically for 3 years, I'm getting work from it. It's like,
exactly.
it's not that easy. You do have to work hard, and you have to be prepared for kind of being battered down a few times and getting back up and fighting forward with it.
You keep going.
I think a lot of people don't, or there are a lot of people who don't in our industry. And
yeah,
like, I think like, no, I think resilience is a really, really good word.
Yeah.
To
like
kind of persevere even.
Yeah, it reminds you of like, I think of like a big soldier with like armor and just standing there, like it's like taking hits, but he's just firm, you know, he just stands strong. So
I think I put the word on my little scribble. I put the word defiance and resilience, and that's what it is. That's your armor. It's like, all right, you can knock me down, but I'm just gonna get back up and keep on fighting. Because if you believe in it, but it is very much about habits and things like that. I think with the risk thing and back to being brave. And it being different things. I think there are smaller risks. That's the marginal gains. Like everyone wants to change the world tomorrow, but there are it's working out those little things. Like you started off by having your YouTube channel, and you probably just had one, and then you probably set yourself a goal of I'm going to do one a month. But then it kind of becomes it soon becomes a habit. It's like a diet. It's like anything, isn't it? It's like once you actually become a regular thing, it's a non-negotiable, and then all of a sudden luck takes over and it's working.
Like 100%. Like there's a cool book actually, I encourage you to read it. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it's super good. Like he gives you a practical guide on how habits work and how the brain, and he uses examples, and he also uses like examples from The Power of Habits by I'm trying to remember his name, but there's another book, and it's really good. Like but habits, because our brain is run, like our lives are run by 40% habits. So there's little small increments. It's like in the book, he gives this example. It's like if you have an airplane, right, and the airplane's going this way, if the trajectory changes 1%, like to the left or right, it's going to be completely off course, and it's going to end up in Russia or like New Zealand or something.
There's a lot of planes ended up in Russia right now.
Exactly. Only by a 1% increment, it completely changes the course. So it's like that one habit done over and over and over again, you're going to be completely ahead where you thought you were going to be.
100%. That's a really good, like, of a similar token, I recently listened to a football manager's team talk, as it were. It was very much about that marginal gains of like, at the minute we're bottom of the league, but all we have to do is go into each game with this aim. And, eventually, like his view as a football manager of being every little ripple creates a bigger wave. And that's the thing. I think it's the Japanese call it Kaizen. I think. Kaizen. Is the Japanese term for it, and it's about every little ripple creating this bigger wave. So every little dent will eventually cause a bigger effect, which, to be honest, is very much a topic at the minute in terms of sustainability. It's about everyone's out there to make the biggest claim of sustainability and saving the planet, but actually if every single one of us made little gains, it would probably have a bigger effect.
That's true. And like I love how Australia like even cut out plastic bags for like the supermarket Woolies and Coles and that, like, and they're actually seeing the difference, and people are taking it on board now, and it's actually reducing plastic just by making that one decision. So if all the supermarkets and all those, think people are doing it, then it's going to cause a bigger
100%. Definitely. And look, the thing with our industry, and one of the posts I wrote recently on sustainability, is that everyone's quick to go, it's too late. Like it's actually, that's a bit of a thing. Like we're a bit of a negative nation. And I think rather than thinking negative, think positive. Don't go, it's easily going to win, but just go, look, you have to change. You can't just accept things and falling apart. Kind of look at it in a positive way. And, it took me a long time to change to a keep cup. But after so many of my friends in England were like, you're killing the planet with your paper cups. But once you actually make the change, it's really easy. And now I have a bag full of keep cups that I kind of feel disappointed if I'm out there without a little funky coloured lid.
We have like 3 at home as well. So like, we just have to make the change, and then we like it. It's cool. Like, and the thing is, like, when you get a well-designed product, you just want to buy it anyway. So it's like, I love having well-designed goods, and just having it's like, it's like part of my personality.
How good is it as a designer when actually someone approaches you as a client or whatever, and you go, that's a really good idea?
Oh, that's
and you go, it's like they're the best ones to design for. It's when they give you something and you go, oh no, that's not a good thing. I'm actually that's going to be hard.
They like making the face. It's like,
Yeah, like, oh look, as designers we have to sell a lot of junk stuff as well, or we have to find the rewarding thing in a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's our role. It's actually not to sell junk stuff, it's to find the one key benefit or the thing that actually is beneficial about selling it.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have both worked in food and beverages, for quite, in the packaging industry and brand industry, and a lot of the things that are in them aren't good.
Yeah.
But there is still an audience that they appeal to. So it's finding the story to tell that is good.
Yeah.
Or actually, look, even recently in the UK, worked with a high protein based peanut butter client.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, in working so closely with them, there were a really nice couple of guys actually who were based in Manchester. And so we worked really closely with them. And one of the key things when we did our research, because designers, the first stage is you go out and research. You look at all the competitors and you look at which ones people are buying, at which point peanut butter generally in the UK, to go off on a nerd story now, is people were buying into the no palm oil stuff. So the ones that were selling were the more natural oils with no palm oil.
Okay.
Now they didn't even think about changing that in their product. They said, oh, but it's high protein. That's what we want to sell it on. And we sort of said, well, to them, well, look, there's also something that people generally want no palm oil. Why do you use it? And they said, oh, we just use it to make it like stick together better. And they were like, but do people care about that? I'm like, yeah, that's actually quite a key feature. And so in talking to them, that they just had no idea. So as creatives, we can open people's eyes. They've launched that product now without palm oil. They've managed to reformulate it. It has no palm oil. It's also allowed to make those kind of claims. It was awesome design by the studio. And it actually has that claim on it to say, it's done in sustainable jars as well. So they're recyclable jars. They didn't used to be. But that isn't the fact that, sometimes clients actually don't know what is important to people. And our job is to connect with people and get we need to get into the head of our consumers to go what's important, and then educate clients as well. And more often than not, they're keen to be educated because ultimately it sells more products. Yeah. But it makes them more popular.
Yeah. And what do you think one's way of getting in your consumer's head? Like, how do you conduct that research, or like you ask questions or talk to people? How would you go about that?
Definitely think, well, that's one of the things that I think is really important, is to go out get into a store first to where whatever it is that you're trying to market or design for is. So actually go into that space, observe, watch the people that buy into it. When we did that particular peanut butter brief, we actually went and sat in cafes and watched the kind of people who would buy breakfast and what they would have. We also did blind research and survey monkeys as well. So the kind of general stuff. And obviously we have professional ways of doing it through qualitative and quantitative testing and things like that, and focus groups. So there is that as well. But I always think in a controlled environment, there's only a certain level. Because you can put people in a room and say, what would you buy, this or this?
Yeah, but it's not really.
Or you can actually watch someone who's got 2 screaming kids on their back in a supermarket. What are they picking off the shelf? What actually appealed to them more? Like, probably the one that's had a big sticker on the front saying or it's on special offer. Sometimes it's price driven. That said, I also think, and I don't remember if you ever worked on China brands when we were at Vibe. I also think it was probably not the smartest thing that I did, but going over and living in China for 6 months and working there actually gave me the best insight possible into designing for China.
Wow.
So actually, I'm not saying to everyone go, and if you're designing something in German, go and live in Germany for 6 months or anything like that. And speak the language. But I think at least mix with people of that culture, because that's ultimately, that's where it's going to be sold.
That's true.
Or that's where it's going to be marketed and promoted. Talk to people who are using something different. And I also think you need to look out of category. So if someone comes to you and they've got a design brief and it's for redesign me a logo and packaging design for a cereal brand, don't just look at cereal. Go and look at what else people have for breakfast or as a meal solution. And see what they're buying into there and why they would buy into that. So kind of if people are having toast or oats or whatever, or the fact that people don't just have cereal for breakfast, and go, all right, I'm looking at insights that are getting people who are out of your category. What are they interested in?
Wow,
Things with services, even technology and stuff as well. Like I think even with technology, where people go, oh, I want to, a new piece of technology. Why will this app appeal to someone? It's good because of this, and they will tell you all of the reasons why their app is brilliant. You go, but if I am someone who is bombarded with, I've got thousands of apps I can choose from.
It's true.
Why would I choose yours? It's like podcasts, isn't it? It's no different to people tuning in to listen to one thing or another. I would listen to a podcast because someone recommended it to me, but there are thousands of them out there. So kind of actually go down and go, why would I listen to yours over something else? And it's not always about going, I have something different. Sometimes it's about the way you approach it. Sometimes it's the voice that you have or the connections that you have that people listen to it. It's not always about being different. It's sometimes just about coming at it from a different angle and listening to people and what they want.
Yes, listening.
It is, and I have to say, like, it's something that as a young creative I didn't do enough. Even in a, you know, even in a business and professional capacity, as a creative, you sit in a room and you've got people who are telling you about the brief and talking to you, and as a creative person you're like, oh, but I've got this idea, oh, I'm so excited to let it out, and you're not actually listening, you're just waiting for a turn to talk.
That's right.
Which is what people always are, like, people are always
they
waiting
get excited, they can't contain, they're like, oh, it's
exactly. Exactly. But a really good colleague of mine said to me, and he said it a long time ago, he said, in a meeting, just listen more than you talk. And if you've got stuff to say, I'm sure it's really valid. But actually, and he used to every now and again just used to kick me under a table to go, I can see you're about to burst. Like, shut up, Lisa.
Yeah, because you got a lot of ideas, especially I know you can just...
I think all creative people have. We're all sitting there going, oh my God, I've solved this. Oh, how about we could do this?
Yeah.
Or the thing that someone's not already thought of. And all of those things are really valid. Of course they are. That's why we're creative. We come up with answers that not everyone does.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important, and people will really appreciate and take notes if you just listen.
Yeah. 100%.
A lot too. And that's the thing with consumers. You said about getting into the consumer space. I mean, how do you do it? I mean, it's really difficult when you have direct clients as well and you're working freelance, because you've not got other people's opinions always to ask.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you do?
Well, like, the way I do is like ask the right questions. So it's all about asking the high value questions to the client, because I've realized that the client actually has all the answers. You just have to get it out of them, right? But definitely, like, for me, like, paying attention to, like, for me, what I'll do, I'll go on, like, on online groups, I'll go on online communities, whether it's a Facebook group or YouTube or Instagram, and, you know, find these type of people that we're looking for. So that's why it's good to have, like, user personas, because it'll help you guide, okay, where would these people be? What this type of person I'm looking for, where would they be? And I'll try and find where they're at, and then see how they talk, see what they like and all that stuff. So that's one, like, quick and easy way when it's just like, you know, you and the client, instead of having, you know, because mostly when it's a smaller budget client, you don't have money to go do surveys and do all that, like, proper research. So you're just going to have to use the internet, and, you know, use it by conversation and speaking to them and actually going out. Like, for instance, if you have a client that, like, maybe has a brewery or a bar shop or whatever, it's like going out and seeing that location and getting a vibe for it, getting a feel for it, seeing the people that live in the town and stuff, and that really helps the project go along and get there.
100%. Yeah, that's a really good tip, actually. That's a really good one, to actually get out and see where it's coming from, where the client is coming from. Go and see them in their environment as well, because that gives you the story sometimes to tell.
Yeah.
Like, especially if it is kind of a local brewery or a local produced product or service, like, that gives you more of a story and an angle. Like, I did recently went to quite a few talks based around virtual reality. And artificial intelligence is actually something that fascinates me. And I think that's it's cool. A scary concept because it's so amazing. But in terms of virtual reality, I can see the practicalities of it. And, you know, there were guys there talking about, oh, but we can put you can imagine yourself walking through a house even before you've even been in it. Or we can picture you in a building. And I said, yeah, but at the end of the day, there's still a connection you get when you go. It's like if you know, you're video conferencing people. I'm a big fan of, if it's possible to go and actually be and see a client, sometimes you should, because there's nothing about being the same connection in the same place or the location, like, that you can really benefit from it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, we gotta take a different angle on it, and we always have to, you know, even though we don't like it. I know a lot of creative people can be introverts. And I know you're like, you've probably grown out of that, and, like, you're an extrovert. And even for me, like, I consider myself an extrovert.
You have to.
But we grow from that. So you got to step out. Like, for me, I used to hate doing, like, client calls on the phone or video calls, but now I do my clients, because I realized that I wasn't building that rapport enough by just sending emails, because you can't transfer that tone of voice and that friendly vibe when you're emailing, you know. So I found that, like, you have to get used to calling, talking, even going for coffee. We have to get used to it as ladies, because confidence and being able to build rapport with people is really going to benefit your business.
Massively. Like, yeah, the same. I used to always be the like, oh, I don't want to call. I don't want to be the person to pick up the phone. And then now you just go, should we just hop on a Skype call? Should we just like talk about it?
Yes.
And it just happens. And I think, I don't know where that comes from. And I think the roles of creatives in agencies are changing, because it used to be like years ago, it used to be the creative director might go and take a brief, but wouldn't necessarily go and present, or wouldn't necessarily, would just sit there and talk for a presentation and wouldn't connect. And wouldn't really kind of be there. Well, no, because you're involved in the creative, but there's almost a big gap in there, isn't there? The suit goes to the meeting, takes the brief, comes back, briefs the studio, creative director leads studio to answer. And it can't be like that anymore. Like, we need to communicate. It has to be that. Especially in a world where everything is online and everything is social, and you almost don't need to talk. It's more important to talk.
Yeah. So I totally agree. Like, it's so important. Wow, it's so good, man. So many good tips. Let's we mentioned talking about some brands that you consider brave. So like, I know for me, like, I remember recently I saw an ad for Hungry Jack's, and it was Burger King in America, and they had this crazy campaign, right? So what they did, they had an app, and then what you had to do was put your phone on a McDonald's ad, and the ad would literally burn up. That's and you'd win a free Whopper. Literally, like, flames would burn up the ad, and then and it will say the burger better at Burger King or whatever, and then it says free Whopper. Like, that's crazy.
That's
viral. I was like, wow, that's so smart. Like,
it's smart, but my only downside of that is that they are doing it by slating someone else. That would be my only thing. Like, I think it's really good, and I think it's really, because you're like, wow, that's cool, that's awesome. But yeah, there's a bit of me that goes, but you're doing it by slating someone else. Whereas what I actually really do like, and one of the brands, we'll stay on the whole fast food chain thing, is that KFC.
Yeah.
I think at the minute, for me, and I don't eat their food because I am paleo, so I do eat chicken, but I don't eat KFC. In the UK last year, there was a day where they didn't get their supplies and they ran out of chicken. So a chicken restaurant runs out of chicken. Wow. And what they did was they released a whole advertising. Well, they released an advertising campaign that said F UK, I think it was. So effectively, it was like, we've run out of the chicken. So they were effectively going, and that was the whole, like, on every page of advertising in the papers, it was saying, we've run out of chicken.
Yeah, and it had like that.
That was it.
I think I had an asterisk. It was like FCK, but people can pick it up.
It was so excellently done of them going, all right, guys, we know we screwed up. We ran out of chicken. Kentucky Fried, nothing. So I actually think, and in terms of that, like, I think I consider them brave. Well, they've also just launched just this week a vegan burger, a vegan chicken. Wow. Sorry, it's chicken, but it's not chicken. At KFC. So they're also being aware of what people want. So I actually like them. One, they can laugh at themselves. We all like a brand that can laugh at itself. Definitely. But secondly, rather than going, but we do chicken, we're Kentucky Fried Chicken, they've gone, there's a market out there where people want fake meat. They want it to taste like meat, but they actually don't want to kill the chickens. Yeah. And so we've produced a non-meat version of chicken. So so I actually think they've been really smart in going, actually, people want this. If we don't do something, we're going to fall behind. Yeah. McDonald's have given people what they want for a long time, I think, in that they've got cafes and stuff like that now. Yeah. But hats off, like, I'd say KFC is a brave brand. Who else is that? I mean, look, we always kind of name the big ones, don't we? And always like go, the big. Yeah, everyone always goes, but they're brave because they've got money to be brave.
That's true.
That said, if they don't use that money wisely, it's a very easy loop to make a mistake and you lose everyone. So that for me is bravery, to go, we might actually lose everyone in this, but we think it's the right thing to do.
That's right. You can't please everybody.
Actually, you can't. I mean, you've just said that Burger King is one that you really rate. Are there any more local ones, or are there any smaller brands that you think are brave?
I know we've seen like the brand Thank You, how they do the soaps and stuff, and everyone knows them. They have an awesome campaign. Like, I always feel like brands who give back to charity or the community, whatever, they're brave because they're willing to put their money and profit into something that's valuable into people. And I think
they believe in.
Yeah, exactly. So I think brands who are doing that, they're really brave, and they're the ones stepping up and actually being examples for other brands to say, hey, okay, you know, we have some money, why don't we just invest it back into the country or into people and communities? And I think that's really good. So.
Yeah, and I think you've definitely named the one that I had completely on the top of my head. And what I think about the guys from Thank You is more about they've actually got a new book out at the minute, and I don't know if you've seen it. I recommend you have a look, because when you open it, I picked it up at the airport, and you pay what you want for it, and all of the profits go to their charity for chapter 1. And then the theory is this particular book tells you about their journey so far, and then you help create the rest of their journey, which will be the next book when they get there.
Wow.
But the book, you'll love it as a creative person, because you open it and turn it horizontally to read it.
Oh,
so
really?
you actually turn it the other way to read it.
It's awesome. Does it have illustrations in it as well?
It's got some pictures and stuff like that in it, but it actually challenges you to the way you think. It kind of says, what do you think about this, rather than telling you what you should think.
Yeah. Wow. That's really
but you know, just the fact that they were 3 guys who went, everyone says we can't stop world poverty, we're going to have a go. And not do it the conventional way.
Anything's possible.
100%. They're all, on an everyday brand that is brave. People like Monzo Bank, I consider brave, because they're just doing it a completely different way. Frank Health Insurance, the way that they're doing it by going, we're open and honest health insurance because there's enough of the bull, you know, out there. They're just taking a different stand, and by listening to people.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about listening and caring, and I think empathy drives those decisions. Having empathy and willing to, okay, let's understand from their perspective, what are they actually going through, instead of assuming and making assumptions and thinking what we think they need or what they want. But we have to actually listen and have empathy and be like, okay, yeah, I understand what you're going through and relate with it. I think that's
there's a really great little cartoon, actually. I'll send you a link afterwards, and perhaps you can include it at the base notes to the channel, by Brené Brown on empathy. And it's so good. It's like she's brilliant anyway. I did a bit of her leadership stuff in the UK, and just the way she approaches it, to kind of go, not everyone wants you to kind of go, it's all right, it's fine, cheer up. It's about just kind of listening and kind of hearing what someone else is saying. And they're the best brands for me at the minute, the ones that are listening to people and reacting, not just listening and going, we'll do what everyone else is doing, but listening and reacting differently.
Wow, that's so key. That's really awesome. Like, so obviously, like, you read books and stuff. Like, what are some things that are like books or things that are inspiring you right now?
We see, I'll be completely honest, I don't read a lot of books. I read that one by the guys at Thank You, but I have a short attention span. For a book to get me past 10 pages, I listen to hundreds of podcasts. I listen to so much, because I can do that and immerse myself in. So I listen to quite a lot of, I'm a bit of a nerd for nutrition and functional medicine. So I listen to quite a lot of stuff, because it all feeds back into what we do, and consumer trends right now anyway. The well-being generally is changing. And it's amazing the areas it's going into. So I listen to quite a lot of podcasts based on consumer trends and just abstract things as well. I think it's important for creatives to kind of actually, like, I listen to movie review podcasts. I listen to football podcasts because I'm a soccer nerd. But and a very happy one this week on the term of that was a
dominated.
That was a team going out there to go, there's no way we can win this, so let's have a go at it. That was brave. That was a good mark of bravery of this week.
A great game. Awesome.
So yeah, like, I listen to, I actually just generally talk to people a lot. And I actually find talking to people, even everyday people, a really valuable key for feeding my source of inspiration and knowledge. I read a lot of things. Online in terms of articles on things like Medium is a great channel.
I love Medium. It's really good.
As well as things from Harvard Business School and stuff, because some of the, the intellectual stuff is important. And it definitely feeds a lot of studies and things like that, but also the day-to-day of people's views and opinions. Because our job is to really make what is often a very complicated space easy to understand. To take all of there's a lot of jargon in our industry, and there's a lot of fluff, if I'm honest, that people, as our lives get busier, don't have time for. So you've really got to get into someone's head and find the key benefit.
And highlight that, and so they can understand it. Because
definitely,
even when you're working with the client, like, they have all these ideas and they have their vision and everything, goals and everything in their head, but it's like you have to help them, like, unravel the confusion and actually lay it out for them and make it simple and be like, okay, here's your thoughts, and we've laid it out in a visual form, and this is how it is. So it's like, putting that in.
What I found really beneficial, definitely from my time in the UK and a little bit before, is working directly as well with strategists. to work on, because obviously they come at it with a lot more of a logical head. From us creatives sometimes, and so to actually work more in strategy and figure out tools and solutions. I mean, even walking into a client and a client goes, I want it to sell and appeal to everyone. Okay. Which everyone does. Like recently designed a branch of pea milk in the UK, so there you go, there's a new one. It launched this week. It's awesome because it's full of calcium and protein, and the whole process of that, there was the two guys that came in going, we've got this milk, it's made from peas, we want to appeal to everyone. And just to go into that and go, look, at the end of the day, the price point of it, you're not going to appeal to someone paying like 50 pence for a carton of milk when this is £3. If something is 6 times the price. So there are certain ways, and through strategies, you need to have a strategy. Like, you can't just go in and make something look good. You need a purpose, and the strategy should be where it starts. So I've actually found it really beneficial to work directly with strategists to kind of figure it out, because they come at it with a logical head, and then we come at it with a creative head, and find out, and then work with the client as well. Actually put into clients to go, look, realistically, using a lot of the tools in terms of charts and structures to kind of pull apart what's there and then put it back together in a more sensible way. I mean, look, pea milk has ended up appealing to a lot of people, but it was important for us to go, using archetypes is a real old school strategist tool, but it's really beneficial because it stops you trying to design and create for everyone. It starts somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and then you can widen that bridge and that gap. And I think you need to take clients on that journey as well, because they don't understand often. They think that you can just design something that appeals to everyone.
Yeah, but it's not. You don't have a strategy. And like, what's your definition of strategy? For some people think it's like some like weird thing, but like at the most simplest form, it's just like going from having a direction from A to B, like having that, you know.
It's having like you say, it's having a plan. It's having a direction or a destination. But it's the journey, I suppose. So it's having a plan, not just going, this is the end game. It's working out the incremental steps to get you to the end game. But for me, a strategy is simply a plan. Everyone talks it up. Everyone kind of comes in now and goes, you know, like, it's as simple as having a page plan when we go into creating something new.
Yes.
Like, and then knowing what each of those pages needs to go to get you to the destination. It's not just going, this is where we want to be, here's the answer. It's like you need a journey, I suppose, even with the scribbles in the middle that do crop up. But strategy for me is just a plan or a reason and a purpose, not just an idea.
That's right. That's exactly. It's not just an idea, which I think a lot of young designers think like, oh, what is this strategy? But once you learn it, it's actually pretty simple. Like, I thought it was overcomplicated, but I've done a few courses now, and I'm like, oh, it's actually pretty straightforward. And then now
it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can apply it to every project now, and it will guide the identity system and the branding if you just start off with the simple strategy at the start.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, and it's about having those little goals along the way. That's all it is. It's a plan with little goals along the way that get you to where you need to be, and breaking 100%. It down. And so, there's a lot of kind of people going, oh, you know, like, it's one of those words that you go, I'm a strategist. That's what I do. Like, well, like, I actually think you can wear different hats, and as creatives, we have to wear all the different hats a lot of the time. But I think perhaps we don't know all of the tools that traditionally through academic channels strategists are taught. But it's amazing, if you spend time, you can learn a fair few.
Yeah, you can.
As long as you can think. Yeah, you just got to learn to think.
Yeah, think outside the box. Challenge. It's like also as well, like challenging yourself, because you may have questions, but then it's like, challenge those questions you're asking. Always ask why, and then try and see the reason behind what you're asking. And so questioning yourself really helps you, because so that's where critical thinking comes into play. It's like, okay, let's think about this from a deeper perspective. What's the deep emotion connected with that thought or question or idea?
I think that's why it's good to surround yourself with people who will question you too. Like, I actually love it when you have a studio that also questions you too. And that's why it's important not to have hierarchies.
Yeah, that's right.
To kind of have, like, I remember my second week as creative director in the UK, one of our junior designers sat me down going, I don't really feel like I'm getting anything from you as a creative director right now. And I'm like, do you know what? Like that's the biggest learning curve ever. To kind of go, okay, like, what does this person actually need? And it makes you think, Actually, like, it's great.
Yeah.
Like, by the same token, actually, that actual same junior, now middleweight, and one of the best designers that we had, actually just needed time to understand how to get into other people's heads. We actually had a brief one day that was to create for Walmart a double-decker pizza, which to us is like, oh my God, like, that's a pizza on top of a pizza. And I won't name the designer because you never know, he might actually have YouTube. And he's like, and he did all of these mood boards that were like an artisan pizzeria. So all of the territory boards were like, oh, we could design it like this, like it's a Pizza Express, or it's like a traditional Italian pizzeria. And I went, look, in all honesty, what you need to do is put your head into the people who are going to eat this. Take yourself down to Domino's, get a thick crust meat feast, dirty old pizza with everything on it, and eat it watching a football game with the boys. That's who you're designing for.
Get in their shoes.
So you can't design this. You're not going to have someone who's going to an Italian pizzeria. These are people who buy it's 2 pizzas on top of each other. Like, it's not healthy. It's not good for you.
It's not.
Put your head into the people you're selling it for, and it needs to be big and bold and flashy. Because if it looks like an Italian pizzeria, they're going to go, I'm not getting that for the boys in game night.
That's true. That's right.
So I think it's about teaching, like that particular example was, look, you're not designing for you. That's the biggest tip as well for designers. I would go, you're not designing for you. So you need to go and find out and understand who you're designing for if it's not you. It might end up being you, but
true.
A lot of the time, like, we're not the users of a lot of the things that we design for.
That's right. So then so for me, like, I have a client that's overseas now in America. So then what would I have to do? I can only research online or ask them what's around them, right? That's the option.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think, like, you're quite good with your social channels and stuff, and you're probably already on to doing this, whatever it is that you need to kind of sell or promote. You will look at you will talk to other people, or look at even just like Facebook groups and things like that from that country. Like, that's one of the biggest things. Like, and like, I work with Walmart in the US, and I went out there a few times, but it's really different. What I would say, if it's for a US market, is the US is a very big place.
A lot of people.
Exactly. So is it a big city that they're in, or that you're creating for? That's quite good then.
Yeah, like, it's not a whole big, state or whatever, but
yeah. Look, if you have any questions on America, ask me, or because if it's something that I might have worked on or from, we would go out and do a lot of consumer research in America. And it is just about looking at what else is popular there. And you don't always have to be there on the ground, but I do know from, like, working with Bentonville, Arkansas, is a very different consumer market to if you're in New York. Different people. Like, I was lucky enough to go to New York, not with work, actually separately. When I left Parker Williams, I just went out for a week, and it was just so different, because I'd been out a few times to work with Bentonville and Walmart, which is a lot, like 70% of America have never had a passport, and that fascinates me. So 70% of Americans don't have a passport because they don't need to leave. So I mean, the team told me, like, when we went to Bentonville, Arkansas, they said it's very different. Like, if you've been to New York before, it's not like that. And that's okay. Like, it fascinates me as a place and a culture. When you're designing for people who have also never been out of that environment, you need to understand their environment, I suppose.
That's right.
It's a completely different culture to me, but New York is a completely different beast to Outland America.
It's true.
I guess, do you know what? It's actually not that different to if you put it to someone who lives in Sydney, who's only ever lived in Sydney, versus someone who lives Outland, Australia, who's someone who lives near the outback, Wagga Wagga, or someone like that. Like, it's very different. Their existence is different. What they buy into is very different. And what would stand out to them is very different. Because they've perhaps got less things fighting for their attention. So I guess definitely kind of, like, in terms of the Florida thing, like, yes, have a Google and look at people online and stuff like that, which you'll do anyway. But it is hard, because I don't think I understood China enough until I went there. Maybe you can get a paid trip to Florida out of this.
Maybe. That would be cool. And America seems so far from Australia.
Do you know what? It is so far, and that's exactly why I went to New York when I was in England.
It's like, man, it's too far.
LA is closer. LA is close. LA and Hawaii and but yeah, or like New York and Chicago and stuff is far from here.
Yeah, it's like,
But yeah, you can go to LA and Vegas and stuff is pretty close. That's only 11 hours. But yeah, New York is
oh,
like
okay,
25 hours. Whereas from England, New York was 5.5 hours, I think it was, or 7 hours or something. It was
wow,
like nothing.
wow. You get used to
Um,
it. I like
but yeah,
flying. I like flying.
I do, but just not for 25 hours.
Yeah, nah, you gotta. I'm the guy that starts stretching and like just working out on the plane.
You're that guy, aren't you? Yeah, in the
Yeah,
aisles.
in the back.
You've got to pass the time. Like it's really boring on there.
I know.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, that maybe that's the future. How cool would it be to design for the airline industry
Yeah.
to make those spaces so much more accommodating for people, to actually make it okay to walk around and stretch?
Yeah.
You'd have so many different issues. That's my big thing at the minute is I'd love to work with an airline industry to make them more sustainable in terms of, I actually know that Etihad has just launched their first flight from Dubai to Brisbane with plastic free.
Wow. Oh yeah.
And
so
you just have to, I'm like,
that's so good.
yeah, like hats off to people. Like the airline industry could do so much, but it could also do something for health. Actually, you saying that kind of getting up and standing and encouraging people to move around, we could do that a lot more.
Exactly. Like even having like a little space or corridor that's like empty that you could just like even like a mini gym thing. I don't know, like to have a space where you can just move and like, you know, do push-ups or something. Like that would be beneficial.
You're that guy. I see now. You're that guy. The one where everyone's tucking, while everyone's tucking into their like genetically modified curry or something.
Yeah, I'm the one working. I like airplane food though. It's all right. And I watch it.
You see, I'm that nerd that takes my own airplane food because I want it paleo. I can't trust it all.
I've had some bad meals, man. I'm just like, I'll just
it's
fast.
The best, it's
I'll
the
fast
best.
This one. I'll just leave it.
There you go. That's the best time. They're the kind of podcasts that I listen to go, the best time to do a fast or intermittent fasting when you're on a plane. But it's also the time when you are the most bored. So you want to do something, and eating kind of serves that purpose.
Yeah, true. You got to fill the time, man. Wow. Oh, it's true, but it's funny.
Well, do you reckon people have a few tips there on how to kind of, I don't know, like do something different with their like creative path? Like take that risk. We started this talking about bravery.
Yeah.
We've talked about airlines.
Yeah. We've talked about a lot of stuff. It's been really good. But yeah, like bravery, like the thing is, I'm going to read a quote that I was reading. I've read this book called Maximize Your Potential.
Yeah.
So it's a really good book. It's by 99U, and it's grow your expertise, take bold risks, and build an incredible career. So I read this like a couple of years ago, and it was like really helpful. And I read a quote. It says, "Uncertainty is an uncomfortable position, but certainty is an absurd one." So it's like we have to get out of the comfortable. We don't want to be.
That's a great quote.
Like we have to be uncomfortable. We don't want to have to or know all the time. Like we have to be like, okay, I don't know where this is going to lead, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Right? And just take that leap. You have to take, eventually you have to take a leap, or you're not going to challenge the status quo, and you're just going to stay at the same level. You're going to stagnate. And I don't like stagnation. I constantly like growth and learning and improving myself and self-developing. So we have to have that mindset. We have to step out and be willing to be uncomfortable, because we're going to miss out. We're going to miss out.
100%. Like, and I think I never quite understand those people, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. Is that my mum always says to me, "Oh goodness, you're always like doing something fresh or plotting something new, or like when are you actually just going to be okay to just be stable and be as you are?" And I actually don't ever want to reach the point where I'm not looking for something new. And that's I'm not talking about necessarily from a work or job perspective, but where I'm not looking for something fresh or exciting, where I'm not picking up the book at the airport that goes, "Oh, that looks different and cool." Like it's not, and that's when it goes down to the small, taking yourself out of the comfort zone. Everyone has a different level of what their comfort zone is. And I think it does, so it doesn't have to be jumping on a plane and going on the other side of the world. It doesn't have to be, but it just has to be something that that really does make you feel uncomfortable. It's good to feel uncomfortable, and to kind of to be a bit unsure or a bit uncertain. Because how amazing does it feel when you break through it, and it's not as scary as you think?
Like, how did I get here? But then it's like, wow, I'm so glad I did that. You know what I mean? And now I'm here, and then it's just like, so many things have opened up because I did make that decision. And then like, you're so happy because it just drives you and motivates you more just to do it again. And I love
Yeah.
that feeling. It's just like, yeah, it's like an adrenaline. It's like awesome. Love
That's the momentum part of it, isn't it? I think the
right.
hardest part is probably when you do get that, when you lose the momentum. And I think for me, that's about surrounding yourself with the right people,
Yep.
the people that will kind of spur you on and not just go, well, that's how it is now. And
Yeah.
actually, I found after 2 years, I actually found the UK a little bit like that. I felt I missed Australia and the weather does help, sure, but there was an optimism that I missed, or I just needed to surround myself with people who go, I don't know if it's going to work, but let's have a go.
Yeah.
Let's have a shot at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's about. Choose who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm sure you know that quote that you become like the 5 people you hang with.
yeah.
So choose the wise people, because if you hang with fools, you'll become a fool. But if you hang with wise people, you'll become wise. So I really
Definitely.
that, and it's true. That's why I position myself with mentors and people who are entrepreneurs and people who want to grow their business. Like I have a friend from high school, like, you know, I'm sort of mentoring him now at the moment, but he wants to grow his business and he's like freelancing and he's like just learning. He's just like a sponge. He's like just learning everything. He's like, give it to me. And like, but he wants to grow and he's like, yeah, man, I want to do this. Like, and he's so hungry for it. And I can see him really pushing.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's so good to see that, and just positioning myself with those people that are hungry, that are willing, that want to be entrepreneurs, that want to do freelancing, that want to do the best work and deliver value to people. Those are the people I want to hang with.
And they're also the ones that ground you as well. Like I've got a really good friend of mine that I connected with at Vibe, and we're really good friends now. He's set up his own business already. He's setting up a second business. So he's super on top of it. You know, like he's like some of the stuff that my friend Travis is into. He's one of the best friends that I've got, because he just gives you that energy to go, you can do this.
Yeah, yeah.
But by the same token, is also a good person to go, do you want to just chill for an hour and actually it's okay sometimes to just be.
Yeah, that's right.
And one thing that creative people are really good at is, and we are 110, I'm a sucker for it, but I've got more into meditation and mindfulness.
Yeah.
Which I probably didn't used to do enough to go, it's okay to take time out, because it fuels the time in. It actually, taking time out actually does fuel your time in. So go travel, do take time out, make sure you sleep, and all of those kind of key things will inspire you when you are kind of being your full-on awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's important, and the people you surround yourself with are good at that as well. They're good at going, they're the ones that will help pat you on the back and go, look, you've done a good job, like it's all right now, take time out, go watch a movie, go do something else. It inevitably doing all of those things where you're not completely on it all the time actually feed back into you a lot better. Going to the movies or you know, doing something different, connecting with I actually sneakily went to a movie today.
Did you have you watched
really
Avengers? Have you watched Avengers yet?
No, I haven't. I went to watch Long Shot.
Okay. Oh, was it funny?
It was actually really hilarious. I had a morning full of I had a morning full of meetings and full of, my brain was so full of so many things, and I went, I'm just going to go and watch this movie. Yeah. And it just came out with the biggest grin on my face, and ended up doing like some scribbles and ideas and stuff for this talk. Yeah. So actually, like it's awesome. Sometimes taking yourself so far away from what you're doing or working on can really help when you go back into it.
I agree, like 100%. We got to do those fun things too, you know? It's like
so that's the deal. You go and watch Long Shot. All right. Take your other half and watch Long Shot, and I'll go and watch Endgame. That's the deal.
Perfect. All right, sounds great. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about, like is something that you're passionate about before we start wrapping up, or?
I don't think so. I think we've probably bored people enough. We've talked an awful lot on this one. We can always do a round 2 another time on another topic.
There's always
got stuff to share.
Part 2. Now, awesome. Well, I'm just going to quickly summarize, and then I'll ask you one more question. So yeah, travel and it's good to travel because, you know, to step out, be different, always give each other a boost. So we're here to be a team player and always help each other with whatever environment you're in. Always have a drive to learn. You know, don't have ego. Always be open. Doors will open when you take risks. So the reward is always on the other side. So if you don't take the risks, there's no rewards. Always stay true to your beliefs, but know that the direction that you choose to go, it can change. You can adapt. So don't always think something's going to be just one direction. It's good to have collaboration. Having your own space is good. Always put in 100%. Don't just aim for 80 or 90%, but always put 100% effort even if it's not perfect, but 100% effort is key. Have persistence and resilience, and always have that energy to push through it and stand firm, like a person who's standing strong with armor. Marginal gains and habits really will have a great effect in the future and for your long-term success, which is really key. Always go where your consumers are. So get into their mind, use empathy, ask questions, go into their environment and see how they think, and you can go to places to learn from them. Always listen more than you talk. I think that's really important key. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which is important. Some inspiration is a good way to, podcasts and traveling, listen to all types of things. Also hanging out with strategists helps you think from the logical perspective as well. I think that's really cool. A brand strategy is a plan, and they're incremental steps to a destination, or they're mini goals to a destination. And I think that's really key. Always question yourself, but it's always good to have someone, whether you're in an agency or studio, to question you, because you may not always be right. So it's good to have that other feedback, which is super cool. Understand, if we're looking at clients or customers, always understand their environment and hang with wise people, because you'll become like the people you hang with. So there's just some summary key points that I think people find useful. But one last question: if you were 18-year-old again, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
That's a really difficult question. I actually don't think I would do anything differently.
Okay.
I would probably say just to be have a bit more of a voice. I was incredibly shy, I think, when I first graduated.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the one thing. Be okay to be you. And you don't always know who you are. You learn along the way. But I think just be okay to be you. Because I think at 18, you probably want to fit in a little bit too much. As a designer, you want to be like the other designers.
Yeah.
And really, you've got to work out who you are as the designer and as a creative. So I would think believe in you a bit more.
Yeah.
But not too much that you get, ego.
Yeah, you gotta leave the ego behind. Awesome.
Exactly.
Well said. I love that. Oh, thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on board. Super fun talking.
Thanks heaps. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been awesome, been great. So look forward to maybe doing another one. But yeah, thanks.
We
guys.
could do it from Florida. We could do it from Florida.
Oh, yeah. Great. We'll set up an appointment. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for watching.
Thanks heaps.
Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more creative content. And always remember to get out there and create something awesome.